We talk about what?
I'll do the Mike Z edit it out and just leave it.
Oh, you didn't even hear it.
Or we change our mind. No, you didn't.
And people in the comments too, they'll put like, as I'm
The
sure
one
you
person
see
did.
that. Yeah.
They were glad,
like,
yeah.
Props to the defiant,
The non-editor.
editor. Okay, let's hear it. This is gonna be good. Let's make it weird already.
Okay, so it's not important where I was, but I'll mention where I was. It was a full moon Vedic fire ceremony, and it was really cool. This woman does it in San Anselmo, and so at one point, this guy came, and the woman who organized said, "Oh, this is so and so," and Sharon, he's moved to where I live, the same town that I live, and I casually, being me, said, "Oh yeah, you should call me. I know a whole bunch of stuff that's going on there," right? Okay. And then I get I'll leave it, it's been a couple of texts back and forth, but I get, the last text was, "Yeah, I'd love to go for a glass of wine or dinner or, And I'm like, he's got to, okay. So
He's actually a guy.
But I thought I made it clear I was married, happily married. I didn't mean to stumble over my mouth.
And little did you know that's a big part of his thrill factor.
Oh yeah.
That you're married.
Not
That gave him
too
permission.
clingy.
Yeah, you won't be clingy. Good. We're in this for the same thing.
Yeah.
So I've taken the ballless approach.
Ballless?
The ballless approach, and just not answered because I couldn't think of a.
His text? You
We
didn't
call
reply
that-
to his text?
we call
I
that-
didn't reply to the last text.
Us youngsters call that ghosting.
I
Yeah.
did ghosting.
Yeah.
I did ghosting, and
Good technique.
and I feel like a shit ghosting. I don't feel. I feel like there might be a better way, but then I feel like an asshole.
Oh yeah. Say
Saying,
whatever the fuck you want.
saying, "Oh, maybe you got the wrong idea." So, is there another way?
Okay, go back. Just do this. You met and you said something. On what basis
You
did
said
you tell him
call
to
me.
contact you? Like, I mean, it was something about stuff going on in
I
town.
was actually going to mention Paul and things that have gone. I'm like, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff because he had just moved to Mill Valley, and I was like, somehow in context, it made sense to me. But I realized I could be a little overly friendly. What did you call me? You
Sharing?
have
Overly sharing?
Yeah, okay.
Completely loose, I think was a good phrase. I was.
Yeah, but in a completely platonic way.
Right, right.
So but maybe, so I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't feel it's honest to ghost somebody, but I feel like it's an asshole move to go, "Well, I don't normally have wine with people because I'm married." Like I can't think of a way to do that with, and he may not have even been thinking of that too.
Right. Well, you can just say that I don't want to make a presumption that you're suggesting something illicit or whatever word you want to use.
that already sounds
not illicit, but
excuse me, I don't.
that you're suggesting. I don't know if you're suggesting anything else, but I just need to make sure remember I'm married. And,
Okay.
And if he was clear about that, and that's fine for him.
So if you got
Takes a little
that
bit of
text,
balls. Yeah.
So
would
he
you
said,
be like, "Oh, that's cool"?
We could have.
Yeah.
How about maybe we could have coffee or wine, or was it wine and dinner, or wine or dinner? Not that it's crucial, but wine was definitely mentioned, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And we could get together. Yeah. Okay.
So I would say Mike's answer makes the most sense because.
Illicit?
Well,
No.
Okay. I don't know.
I like that
the
word.
spirit of what he said,
Yeah.
because it will either he wants what we all think he wants, and then he'll just be like, "Oh, okay, she ain't going for it," right? And then
Ghost me.
ghost you. Or if he actually, maybe he's a little socially awkward, and he's like, "Oh yeah, maybe wine is too much." No, I really I'm new, and I got another spiritual person that I met and so I think his version, you'll actually get an answer out. The third alternative fucked up thing would be if you say I'm married and then he still keeps pursuing. As Keith said, then you will have to
then it's a
ghost.
problem. I don't
because after the
foresee it
ghost
being
is,
a problem.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
It's
that's
in
worst
that
case scenario.
gray area. Yeah.
You could also express it as something like, I just want to be really clear that I'm envision a platonic connection. You could even use the word platonic. That way you don't have to say that I'm not interested in. In other words, say what you're. That define platonic. And just say I want to be. Just want to be clear that my context is platonic. I just want to be clear that my context is platonic. That would, for me, do
3
it.
times.
No, let me say it one more time. I only said it 3 times because I'm trying to get the right.
3 separate texts. Bing, bing, platonic.
And he'd come back and say, in other words, platonic, right?
Could you envision writing this? Well, not in your case, but can you? I was going to say to a woman. I mean, it's not that you know. It's going to be awkward no matter what, right?
Yeah.
I think your instinct. I think your instinct to address it in this way, one way or the other, is very appropriate.
Yeah.
And ghosting just doesn't feel.
It doesn't seem that it has integrity.
Look, he's put out.
because you're not following through on your own original authenticity.
Exactly.
Right? As though there could have been something wrong with mine, and I'm not going to call it.
I don't think that it's like an absolute ghosting's bad no matter what, but it's like they have to earn the ghost. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're not getting the hint, enough's enough. But at this point, all he said was wine. Right?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And did you like the energy? Otherwise, did you like his energy?
Yeah.
I
didn't really know him that well. I was just excited when he said, "Oh, I just moved to Mill Valley," and we were at this. I was quite up in the event. We were breaking a coconut and doing these chants, and I'm like, "Oh, Mill Valley's great." And I honestly was actually thinking of Paul because I feel so fortunate that there are great things happening in the area.
So would he be someone, if he was platonic, that you would feel potentially a nice vibe with around friendship?
I don't really even remember him that
What?
well.
Yeah.
Honestly, if he was sitting at that table, I don't think I would remember who he was.
But I meant about the energy, not what he looks
At
like.
the time, I remember the energy was fine, but...
Let's say he wanted a platonic thing. Would you want to have coffee with him?
Oh yeah, coffee
That's what I'm
would
getting
be
at.
fine. But perhaps maybe not more than maybe 1 or 2 coffees, and then set him on his.
Or maybe you'll have coffee because the fire dance day you were high, and so anyone could have came up to you, you know.
Right, exactly.
And then you're like, oh yeah.
I really felt I was happy to do a service. It wasn't like I was really looking for friends.
Well, that's where the follow through is so important from the perspective of you're always trusting yourself. So I mean, it could be somebody you've gotten to be more friendly with, and then there's complications of relationships. Well, why aren't they being more friendly back? Or they're demanding too much of my time, and just being yourself, so that you're not constantly trying to figure out all these formulas.
Right.
You're just like, okay, what feels? Do I want to call? Do I want to tell them not to call? And that's.
Yeah, I'll just. Okay.
And the fact that you're even having it.
And now I have it on tape, so now I can do it.
You're going to help because we're having another meeting next week. We're going to ask about these texts.
Well, I think since you've got this concern in your head, that it would really not be appropriate to meet with him as if I hope that I never gave him any reason to believe.
Right.
That is
front,
because
on
then
text.
you meet with him. Who knows what his intention is? But it just might imply that if you got the concern as a distinction, if you wanted to believe platonic, speak that.
Yeah.
Because the default for male-female is this ambiguity.
You know what? I don't
well, because you're married,
know
you're
that.
seriously married.
Right.
But it
and
is the
I think
default.
I think he might be a little awkward too, because I think he said he was newly divorced. So maybe he's also like, how do I do this?
Right.
So he's the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and you can never get second guess so many things like that. Although we do, we get stuck on one. Like I've had a number of times where I've been stuck in the loop of embarrassment because I've followed through with like kissing somebody I wasn't supposed to, like with a therapist. But the earliest time was with a cousin when I was like 10.
Wait a minute.
By that time, guys are supposed to know not to kiss their guys.
Define kiss.
Oh, just like
a kiss on the
goodbye.
cheek.
You shake hands or you hug.
So it wasn't one of these moments that.
No. We're just blowing past it.
Well, swallow it, because I'm going to ruin your day.
Thank you.
Should I have kissed someone? It's not something I generally think. Was it too much tongue?
See, I'm not even thinking
Was it
clearly
too
now.
much tongue? Was the hand on the ass too much?
Yeah, see, it wasn't even as complicated as that, but still,
Oh, well, I
I
hope
still
it wasn't.
remember when I was 10 years old when I embarrassed myself, and he started,
sweet.
he started backing away, and I just kept falling into it.
He has the same
and I do it with a
energy.
therapist. I've done it. It just, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to being like, hey, I'm totally innocent.
Yeah.
Why should I be worried about their social conditioning that they might have been more embarrassed?
Yeah.
And that ricochet can really, but it's really ultimately not different.
Yeah, it's a conditioning. We just don't know what the fuck to
and
do.
to know whether I should
Yeah.
say, sorry right then or the next time or something like that.
Yeah.
But if I'm stuck in this embarrassment, like there's, I'm so bad for having done that, I have to avoid the subject, don't bring it up,
Yeah.
or make it worse by having to make amends, when they could care less themselves.
Yeah.
It's just there's no way around all this
No,
fucking.
yeah.
I know.
Cycle.
I know. It is. It's all
it's,
pretty
I
innocent.
tell my kids all the time, and I have to tell myself, it's bigger up here. It's not good for.
Oh,
I'm
good.
pointing to my head. It's bigger.
his big
it's
head.
just it's bigger. Everything is a bigger deal up here in your head. As soon as you say it, you will see how small it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll have to sit there and be very patient. And especially my little baby, she's so
How
cute.
old?
She's the 6-year-old. Not the littlest baby, but the 6-year-old, and she'll just be like, she'll be really down. She'll be like, Papa, I don't feel good, but I don't want to tell you. And she'll actually say it. And I'm like,
Wow.
well, that's cool. So I'm like, okay, so now my job as a dad is to just create the space and make it as comfortable
Nice.
as possible. And I just okay, well, it's okay to tell me, and I got to remind her again and again. But that's I got to bring everything down to my kid level because
That's where,
But then I have to remind myself all the time, like, oh my God, I wasted the entire day, or I spent the entire day going over shit that I thought, was the biggest deal in the world to my friend, to my wife, to my whatever. And to them, they're like, wait, what happened? Like, it's not even in their, reality, not even in their realm. So, that's...
Well, it's
that's
pretty
being a
healthy to get it out. Sometimes I
Yeah,
just
so good
don't
to get it out,
even get it out.
Yeah, and you don't even, it's ethereal in your head, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then as soon as
that's
you say it and you
yeah.
make it concrete, you're like, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in the dark, like around the corner, things are, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then as soon as you turn on the light,
Yeah.
because your imagination always kind of defaults towards like, what's the creepiest,
Right.
scariest thing possible?
That's a really.
That's
I like that it's ethereal in your
Yeah.
head.
Well, the thing around the corner is our presumed self-image, right? That we could be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
And so if there's no self-image that has to be protected from being embarrassed, then the embarrassment becomes like, well, what's being embarrassed?
Yeah.
But it's such a strong front here.
Yeah.
So
That
just to
protective
make
instinct.
it a little weird. I
Not
remember,
weird enough yet.
I can't say anything. Ida Shante?
Adiashante.
If it's not John or Susan.
You came on to Adiashante.
Yeah, but I wrote in the text about it.
But he was still going by the name Brian Jones, right? That's before the Adiashante thing.
Oh, really?
No, he had another name at one point.
Oh,
What
right. I
I'm
thought it was
saying.
Brian.
Are we about
So,
to break a scandal? The one guy we thought was safe.
No, he said that was the one thing he really noticed when he really had his last, or at that point in the recording I heard, when he had his last awakening, was gone. That voice that sort of goes, oh, well, what about this?
What about,
and,
yeah.
or particularly after you say something. And so that whole self-image, I think I'm trying to clock into what you were saying, that whole self-image is gone.
Yeah.
It's just nobody's there, so there's no. Even if there is a voice, it probably doesn't Velcro. It's my understanding.
yeah, it can apply in more and more areas. Like, what diet am I going to do? Whether I should do coffee? Whether
Yeah.
because it's,
Like,
it's just
what
all
did,
they're all fractions of the
Paul
same thing.
said, like, if you hear about John and you're not John, you're not going to listen to the conversation.
Stanley, he's one of my best friends.
Oh, Stanley?
It's Stanley usually.
Here, you tell it, because it won't make sense.
Just that that if somebody's talking in the other room, and you think it's talking about you, you're really paying attention. But if it's suddenly realize they're like he uses the girlfriend context, and then suddenly they're talking about Stanley, then it doesn't take any effort to stop wondering what's
being
going on in
interested.
that room.
The first time I heard that thoughts over there held as Stanley's can be driving him crazy and putting him through hell. But over here, it means nothing. Because I'm not Stanley. I don't identify as Stanley.
Yeah.
The first time I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
that's super hit.
And over here can just simply mean you and Stanley are talking right here,
Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
And Stanley's saying, my life is so effed up right now.
Yeah.
And you can be there for Stanley. Because it's all in Stanley's stories of all everything that's wrong for me. And then if your next thing is, I'm
my
telling
turn.
Stanley my stuff, and he's totally there for me because it's not about me in his view.
Yeah, I was forced into I think we all are in different ways, whether it's family or school or whatever. But when I got into construction at a young age, I remember I wasn't prepared. I went from like teaching kids in preschool, Montessori school, to hardcore construction, like grown-ass men. I told this story. I don't know if I told it on the podcast. So the first day, to give you an idea, very first day that I worked, I'm not going to say the company I work for. We go out in the morning and we're like stretching out, right? And everyone's drinking their coffee. And there's this old dude with a beard like down past his belly button, gray beard, and he's drinking coffee and he goes, I don't know him, I don't know his name, nothing. He turns to me and he goes, I like my coffee like I like my women. He takes a sip and I'm like waiting and he goes, ground up and in the freezer.
Oh my God.
And I was like, what am I getting myself into?
Oh my God.
I can't hang with these guys. They're monsters. And then he just went on. He didn't smile. He didn't I'm joking with you. He just went. And I was like, I can't hang with it. And then you condition yourself. So what I was getting at was, when you get guys just coming in, you piece of shit, and I was holding it as it's true. They're talking about me. And it was almost like this weird sort of zen, the like hitting them with the cane thing, where I started going, they're not talking about. They could be talking about anyone. Because every new guy is getting, you know what I mean? They're all getting the same thing. And I stopped taking it personally. Like I saw, it was a simple enough context that, you're saying I'm a piece of shit, I'm lazy, I'm this and that. But you're saying that about every other new person. So you might as well be saying it to a wall. That was like the first little like survival instinct of that idea of like, I don't have to hold it as mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't have to accept
wonderful.
the shit you're saying.
Yeah.
And then, that thing of the self-criticism continued on. If I messed up, if I didn't,
But
if
I
I broke
wonder
a
if
tool
that
or whatever.
shifts, because that like a sort of.
Yeah, it was an opening of like the aperture,
Yeah.
And then I think finding Paul and just the message again and again and again, it can intervene when the self-talk starts going. I was like, this is about Nick. It's not, it's my holding it. It's the meaning I'm giving it. That's the juice.
Some people might think this is like abuse. It depends, your experience. And again, so many people with, it's about self-experience, so it's hard to explain these things. But I know a lot of times, like in certain settings with a guru, sometimes you'll be at the receiving end of them just giving you shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
What, a guru?
Yeah, and it could be in a very public, humiliating setting. And I've heard people say, like, it was amazing. Like, they just had waves of bliss. Like, something broke on the personal level.
Oh, they were overwhelmed probably then.
Well, you could put it
Like
in
the
a
way Paul
psychological
mentions.
context.
Over the head.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If that's what they
I
need.
don't know what you mean.
No, just overwhelmed because it's overriding their ability to
As
take
you were
it
saying
in.
that, I was like, yeah, Paul does that. He's like,
Paul
that's
Like a
mentions
pause.
Yeah.
It puts you
No,
in
not a pause, but Paul mentions he talks over the head.
That's a different thing, though. This is a different phenomenon.
But I'm saying
Or
for
I
them,
go
I'm
with
saying
it.
because it wouldn't work on me to be put through that. But I could see that there would be a similarity.
Because
no,
I think
well, of course
it's
I don't
the
know for
same
sure, but-
mechanism as what you were talking about, like something breaks when you don't. That sort of Nick or Sharon is no longer humiliated or no longer, all the baggage just goes.
So
and it's no longer
he's
personal.
used my name. He's used Nick a couple of times where he'll say, I'm not throwing the message to Nick. I'm throwing it to the Buddha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, I've seen what Nick does when Nick gets the message, and
Oh,
during
wow.
a meeting, you could see that as like very lightweight teasing or public humiliation.
Oh
right?
no, he's actually.
Yes. So the
Yeah.
subjective experience is, he says, this isn't to Nick, this is to the Buddha, and then there's a subtle thing where I see like it helped me to catch Nick claiming it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I saw the selfing
Right.
claim, and I was like, oh, he's talking exactly about this little process
just
that
right
I'm
now, yeah.
seeing, and then it can be this
Wow.
like overwhelming experience of like
Thank you.
it kind of it gives Nick the 1, 2, 3, the hook up, and it's just too much,
Wow.
overwhelmed, and then
Yeah.
something, it's getting through to something else. You see that very subtle weird thing that I only can ever really hear Paul explain, of that defense system of trying to catch him, trying to catch him,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it gets overwhelmed and something gets through.
I don't know if I had that experience so much before, but what I do fall back on is his story when his girlfriend broke up with him, and he went back to the glove.
Yeah.
He went back to the glove and then added glove, and he could see himself. Again, I guess I'm shortcutting that story. Somebody else could tell it, but he kept going in and out of it. Like, oh, whoa, she broke up with me. My girlfriend broke up with me, for me, and going into the drama, and then popping out of it, and then popping into it. And he used the glove analogy even. He said sometimes he would put the glove back on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess it's sort of like stories sometimes help me. Like hearing that, I'm like, oh, I think I'm putting the glove on.
But I want to go back to something you said, and it may not be a big point, but
Yeah.
it kind of triggered something, and I don't use the word triggered
Please.
much, because I think it's an overused word. But
Trigger
it
warning.
prompted me to say the following.
But it
When you
triggered.
use the word when a
Trigger
spiritual
appropriate.
teacher or guru
Yeah.
humiliated the person
Yeah.
and it overwhelmed them, that's...
I don't know if it overwhelmed them, but something was transmitted where it was
Yeah, it's called
complete-
abuse. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, okay,
when you,
that's
now,
why
the
it's a
only reason I
tricky
say that,
story.
there can be honesty in a
Yeah.
teacher-student, but when you use the word humiliated, I don't have two senses of that. And by the
No,
way, I'm not
I don't
coming
think
from
it's
a
the best
place.
word, yeah.
But
I was never. Let me
humiliated-
just
It's a humble, yeah.
let me just say,
Yeah.
I was never humiliated by a teacher of that kind. I've had humiliations, but I don't think there's a sense of useful humiliation, is what I'm getting at. And these
Well,
teachers who
what
do
would it?
this are generally sadists who are playing on weakness in these groups. That's what I'm kind of
Yeah.
making a larger point.
I
I,
think-
don't need to go down this road.
Yeah, it's
but
dangerous, too.
Humiliation
But
in the
it's
name
a
of
good-
spiritual
it's a
growth is a
good
bad
thing
business.
to talk about. I think it's a good thing to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
And I agree. There's some teachers I wouldn't touch with a barge pole because I hear this is an ongoing thing. But with some teachers, it's really not an ongoing. It's not the climate, but occasionally that's how the sword may be in a very unconventional, out of the box thing. But it depends. You have to pick up humiliation. And I don't mean they're, it's like deliverance and they have to wander around like a pig on all fours naked. And get,
Which I,
I mean, there's levels of humiliation, but it might be just sort of, being scolded in front of a crowd or something where your mind just does like a brain fart and you either can pick up the individual humiliation, but I've met people that have had that experience and counterintuitively what they'll say is, I just got waves and waves and waves of bliss. It was like incredible. It's not what you would think it is.
Yeah.
And there are transmissions. This is what happens when sometimes the mind is dropped. Sometimes something else arises. So sometimes that can work. I don't advocate it. I would never do it.
So I think what Keith's kind of getting at too is like public service announcement. Like you don't have to do that.
No,
like, there's
no,
plenty of
no,
guys
no,
out
no.
there and women out
Please
there.
don't
They
do
can,
it.
they can give
More
it
than
to
that,
you.
I'm willing to concede there's an intentional humiliating act by a masochistic teacher, or a sadistic teacher, and versus I felt humiliated.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
How
that
they've
goes,
experienced
so
it. Right.
that
yeah.
and that has to how they heard it. It might not have been. I'm really referencing. I'll just briefly say this, and it's not about my own experience. Chogyam Trungpa, right?
Oh yeah.
No.
Well, he's a Tibetan teacher who was used a lot of justification and what he called crazy wisdom. And he was a full-blown alcoholic, but
Womanizer.
profoundly realized at the transpersonal spiritual. To read, it kind of reinforces that you can have a non-dual opening into the awareness of, Buddha 101, into the emptiness, the empty, knowing, luminous self, and still leave the idea that cleanses your whole being and works your whole personality out. Nada. I used to believe that. I used to believe in enlightenment when I'd hear people, the Kundalini, well, it's cleaning out every chakra. They probably are totally transformed. Well, that's an assumption. Anyway, Trungpa became an alcoholic, a cocaine addict. It didn't take away his wisdom, but he created a pathological community. Mm-hmm. And one of his followers, I won't name him, he founded a community, and he has just gotten busted widespread within his community. And he's a follower, he's a direct descendant of Trungpa. We don't have to go into an evening on cults and pathological groups. That's not where we could. But anyway, he's just, that entire community, I just got an email. It was not a community I was involved with, but I tracked them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you when this is all, because I don't want to gossip. I wish them peace and healing. But it simply said our community's closing, our assets are being sold, we're sorry if you've paid for a program. And the teacher had been really abusive in the name of crazy wisdom.
Yeah.
Unresolved stuff in him, shadow, and unresolved guru stuff. So we can move on back to laughing, but when you talked about a teacher humiliating and that someone felt bliss, I go, oh, that's the justification for a lot of abusive teachers.
My mind goes there too.
I would say, though, that it's never the guru or any present person that could even entertain the possibility of seeing someone that could be humiliated and needed to go through that. Certainly that person might end up experiencing that, but it's as simple as in AA, the idea of service, or other types of that where somebody knows that that person needs to scrub the floors, but not as them seeing as anything. They don't see anything wrong with scrubbing the floors.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe they remember themselves having the feeling that, oh, this is humiliating to have to scrub the floors.
Yeah.
But eventually you wouldn't even have to be worrying about your own memories of that. You would just say, hey, scrub the floors. And maybe that guy would get blissed out because somebody was honest with me, and life doesn't have to be more than this, and whoa.
I think fundamentally for me, going back to all of these conversations, the one thread is, who am I? And so it's like, there's many ways to find out.
I am the scrubbing of the floor.
It could be self-inquiry, it could be some guru humiliating you in that moment, maybe something ceases.
Well, they can both be true. Okay, I'm willing. Okay, now let's say let's just concede he's a sadistic teacher, teacher A. I mean, and intentionally, he's out of control, justifying it as crazy wisdom.
Yeah.
And someone could, in fact, have a very clear moment of no self as a result of that.
Yeah.
But in general, there's a kind of self you don't want to break down in people.
Right.
Their sense of self-worth.
Right.
So that's kind of what I heard. Their sense of basic self-esteem, which is often one of those discussions, and some of the Western psychologists say you have to transcend yourself, you have to be a self. You have to be a healthy self to transcend yourself.
Ramdas.
That's Ken Wilber and others.
Ramdas used to say,
you got to be a healthy self to lose one.
Ramdas used to say, you got to be somebody before you can be nobody.
Although the ingrained attachment to the inflated self-esteem of an actually not healthy image, right? That's needing to build the fake self-esteem above that. That's kind of what the paradigm of AA is that to recognize by sponsors which ones need to need to be broken down like them. I wouldn't agree with them needing to break them down.
Yeah.
But that's the experience those will have first in order to get to some viable, sustainable basis of a healthy self-image that the other sponsors know how not to attack, not to interfere with, and those that are already mopey and don't need to be told not to be, don't need to be taken down a peg. They need to be reinforced no, that's not a realistic way to look at life, that you suck.
I think there's probably a really good checklist somewhere where it becomes a cult and it's really destructive,
There are some checklists.
Yeah. There's
There are some guide, one would be that comes to mind. I happen to have a friend I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, who was active in, quote, deprogramming some members of the Unification Church, the Moonies. And so I got to know her, and not an expert, but she pointed out to me that when the group tells you your family is evil, Your family of
that's-
origin is evil.
Oh yeah.
And this is we're the
Yeah.
real family. They're the bad family.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a really bad thing.
That's a
Because
really
you've got
bad-
God on your side,
Yeah.
and the family is keeping you from being
Yeah.
who
And
you
they
really.
isolate you.
Yeah.
I
So
would
that
think
would be
that
one.
would be the number
Okay,
one.
so you all know this. I grew up in a cult.
Right.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I grew up in a freaking cult
Oh
in
my god, and
Berkeley.
you're
Yeah.
still attracted to
Yeah,
spiritualism.
yeah. So there's
That's a
some
beautiful
baggage
thing.
there. Yeah.
And
yeah.
amazing.
Well, okay.
amazing.
I think you did tell me that once, but I.
Yeah.
What cult?
I don't. It's kind of boring because I'm
No,
tired
I'm
of
not
telling
bored.
you.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating.
Well, you don't have to tell that story. I mean,
Yeah, no, I want to.
Okay.
I've been wanting to say it on the podcast, but it just. I don't know.
Now it gets weird.
Yeah, like you guys are talking about cult. So it's called SRF, Spiritual Rights Foundation. It's still around. It's in
SR.
SRF, Spiritual Rights Foundation. There's also an SRF that's the Yogananda guy, self-realization.
Oh yeah, he's cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
He's
That's the group you were in, or that helped
no,
you
no,
get
no,
out?
no. This is I'm saying it's a separate SRF. It's not that SRF. It's a separate SRF. So I was born into it. Like my mom was a member when I was born, and the checklist of stuff. So I grew up in this thinking it was all normal, and then got out and started to go step by step back on, okay, yeah, this was fucked up. This was a very good sign it was a cult. This was a very good sign it was a cult. And it wasn't like Jonestown, obviously. Like on a spectrum, Jonestown and Scientology, it's maybe closer towards the Scientology side, obviously. No one got murdered or drank the Kool-Aid or anything. But he, and this is stuff I've found out more recently, no names or anything, but he was a pedophile. He had all sorts of like child porn stuff on his computer. Some of the girls I grew up with apparently were molested by him. I didn't even know. I'm not out of contact with them. I don't talk with them anymore. It's very sad, yeah. But the guy, Bill Doobie, fuck him, look him up. He charismatic leader, and the thing that blows my mind when I look back on it is he literally, his word was the word of God. In that, if you came along and you said, I remember saying, I don't remember exactly what it was, but he said something, and I said, well, Bill Nye the Science Guy, I don't know if you guys remember that show.
Yeah.
Said this and that about some physical phenomenon, and he goes, no, that's not true, and he said he put his in, and I remember like I was somewhat defiant and like being outcast for questioning.
How old?
I'm like 7, 8 years old, and so it was like his word was the final word. It didn't matter, and he had a group of, it was about maybe 50 people or so
Living
together in a church. Then he got separate places, and then they lived in separate apartments stuff. I lived on one of the properties that was a part of this
And all the
organization.
money went to the organization?
Yeah, and then my parents were reverends, so it was partially Christian. Both my parents became ministers of it. Yeah,
And what ages were you in it?
So I was in it from when I was born, and then I started getting hints of getting out at about 13 when I started playing city baseball and like talking to other, because I was homeschooled. I didn't go to public school, any of that stuff until high school. And I started talking to other kids outside of the group, and then I started doing martial arts, and I became best friends with the son of the owner of the karate school, and I just good young kid instincts, I just started living with him. I just told my parents, like, I'm out, and I just started going, at 13, and then I started going to public school, and I look back and I'm just like, I think of the intelligence of little 14-year-old Nick to just, because when I look back, it wasn't like I'm in trouble, I need to get out. It was just sort of like, I like being with them more than, and I just took off.
Do you have siblings?
I have 2 half-brothers that I didn't grow up with, so I was an only child.
Are they still in the organization?
No, so it's complicated. This is gonna get boring. I'm gonna breeze through it. So I'm the youngest. My dad had 2 boys before me with another woman, had me with my mom, and then he took off, was out of the picture by the time I was 2. My mom married my stepdad when I was 5. And then he basically was the one that raised me. So he's who I call dad, my stepdad. Yeah. And then my biological, DNA dad came back into my life and sued for visitation when I was 13. So I started seeing him again. And he's not my dad. Like, I never stayed at his house. He didn't really raise me. But he introduced me to Alan Watts. He introduced me to So it's not all negative. You know what I mean? Like I got shit, and he's the one who I told you has the master's degree in consciousness studies. Yeah.
Your biological dad?
My biological dad, yeah. He's super into this shit. So it's in here for sure. It's in the
Is anybody still in the cult?
Yeah, it's still around. The main no, they all got out.
Would you say it's still considered a cult? I mean, does it behave like a cult?
So the head guy died probably like 15, 16 years ago now.
So much for infallibility there.
Yeah. He died. He had a heart attack while giving a lecture in front of. He died right there in front of at like 50. Yeah. He's a piece of shit. I mean, like everything, right? He had great teachings and great ideas, but, obviously absolute power corrupts.
So a lot of the girls you grew up with had been probably...
Most likely all of them. I don't know, but I'm guessing. Yeah.
Were they like siblings almost?
Yeah, well, basically grew up together. Yeah. Like we saw each other every day. So I was the youngest boy, and then there was 3 older girls. Yeah, and then some more came in, and then another boy came in when I was about 8 or 9, and he was 4 years older than me. His name was Victor, and became instant best friends because I'm like, another boy.
That would be really interesting to do. I do photography, and one of the girls, she was in this cult, and her thing was this project of interviewing all the people from that cult, and it was a pretty bad one where there was a lot of incest, and it was really bad. I don't know if this could be just as bad. So I just wondered if you would ever want to do a podcast interviewing some of the survivors.
Yeah, maybe. I don't really even know.
Because you're an amazingly well-balanced person.
Thank you.
And you must have had this thrust to know truth.
Yeah.
Because you could have just said, don't mention enlightenment, don't mention God.
No,
I'm
100%.
shutting the
So
door.
I call it like my atheist phase. I went from like 20 till about 27. I was like, it's all bullshit. So that was the other thing about the cult was they did psychic readings. So they were like con artists that old people that would like spend their social security check on a psychic reading. I think it was so freaking sad. Like looking back, I didn't know at the time, but she's like, oh, they're providing a service. And I look back, I'm like, all the shit they ever said never came true. Like it was all obviously bullshit.
I get that you are old and broke. Yeah. I don't know where that's coming from. Thank you, that'll be $35. I am old and broke because that's the same thing you've told me for 3 years.
So on that line, my mom met my dad on Telegraph because he gave her a tarot card reading. So that's why I'm here, because of tarot cards. And that's actually my wife and I met over tarot cards.
Oh my
God. Which is fucking weird. So what was I going to say? So 20 to 27, I was like, it's all bullshit. All the psychic stuff is bullshit. All the God stuff is bullshit. All the spiritual stuff, Kundalini, it's all just in their heads, And it took, we're not going to make this all about me. It took some very convincing experiences at about the age of 27, and then I think I met Paul and you guys at 28.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
And now I'm...
Well, that might be so you don't have it be all about you. One thing that strikes me, maybe we have our own versions of, did we have a, quote, atheist phase?
Yeah.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. Well,
I
caught agnostic. I never...
But I mean,
agnostic.
Agnostic. I mean, where you spend some time literally listening to various speakers and trying to marshal your thinking around it. I did, but it was strange. It wasn't when I was wrestling with belief. I was already in the camp of spiritual but religious. But in the past 10, 15, well, maybe 15, with Sam Harris.
Yeah, Sam Harris is...
I just enjoyed that Sam Harris was so bright about it, that he was willing to debate Christian theologians so well. Yeah. So I wasn't wrestling with... I just love the argument.
Yeah.
I love the counter. I love the Christian theologians, and I consider myself now an atheist, but I would really qualify that to say it's not the standard materialist argument against consciousness. Mm-hmm. It's more like Sam Harris, spiritual but not religious. He wrote a book called Waking Up, A Guide to Being Spiritual Without Religion. Very rare to find a public intellectual who is can make the best arguments possible in the school of atheism, and yet has devoted 40 years of his life to meditating with advanced teachers, and he now runs a meditation app, and he thinks consciousness is primary. I mean, that's the kind of balance I loved Christopher Hitchens' thinking. If you knew Christopher Hitchens, his arguments against God were so bombastic and fun.
I love the conversation.
I don't understand that using atheism, though, because it's already pre-accepting their definition of God,
exactly.
and you have to declare yourself as an atheist about it.
I like the fluidity.
Well, so Sam Harris talks about that. He goes, he doesn't like the word atheist.
Yes.
He goes, because it'd be like saying you're non-Mormon.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, why would I run around doing that?
Why does the basis have to be your definition?
You're already in cahoots.
Well, he even as a further point in his case to make the argument, he's against irrationalism. He says we don't have a term for non-astrologer, do we?
Yeah, exactly.
No, because astrology is nonsense. You don't have to make a point of saying you're not one. So, of course, a lot of people think astrology is valid, but Christopher Hitchens was good about this. He would say, I am not just an atheist, I'm an anti-theist. Now, I would not wish to pray or be grateful to a God who is an authority. So he goes on authoritarian, tyrannical. So he defines. So it's actually a clean argument. He defines the kind of argument, a kind of God that wouldn't be worthy of a human being to pray to, let alone grovel before.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a brilliant. So he said, I'm not an atheist. I'm an anti-theist. I'm ashamed at you intellectuals in the room who've subscribed to this nonsense.
I find it a really interesting question as to why we would emphasize particular beliefs in certain verbal ways, or whether we express them, or the activities that we, like, why does Sam do what he does as opposed to a Mother Teresa, who maybe believes the same things, but she's not bothering to define,
No, just do that again. I'm not getting your point, but I think it's...
The more backup question about why would I say I'm an atheist, or why would Sam say that? Why would we bring up the word? Why would we emphasize that with our lives?
And non-belief in God. Yeah.
Or why would we spend time going to non-duality talks, as opposed to, let's say, the same thing is happening with Mother Teresa and people that are helping the poor, that they're not at odds at all. They need to fit certain parts of the puzzle. But why, if she's not needing to define God, or if it was a person that was an atheist and needed to define atheism, couldn't even do it maybe, because you're not putting that kind of energy there. Your energy is going, let's say, as a conventional example, you're helping the poor.
Yeah.
It's why, because somebody helping the poor could be a do-gooder, and they could have this is why you need to do it. And I'm going to talk about it a lot, and I'm going to say you should do it. So it's just like a feeling about what is the urge to spend this time and energy and stuff like that. Like, I don't do it with my friend, with my spouse Greg. I'm not gonna, I'll just,
because he's religious in that way.
No, he's atheist.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
In a negative, like they're bad kind of way. And occasionally I might mention, you're kind of defining yourself by them, kind of like we just said. But I don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. I'd rather I'm just curious, like, why am I so interested in going to Paul's non-duality talks? I mean, I can't really get behind that. It's just a general thing that it's not so much from atheist out. It's like, why atheist?
I think it maybe is what we were talking about earlier, like the ethereal. Like there's something there.
Yeah.
Can I concrete it into a word? Can I fit it into a box? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people get really hung up on different boxes.
I think I'm an experientialist. Like, I also remember being in temple when I was a little kid, and everybody was talking about God, and I'm like, I needed the experience, and maybe that's why I do love the self-inquiry and non-dualism. It's rather than somebody telling you the way it is, this is the theory, it's direct experience. So I think, if I'm anything, that's how this has come through. It's
You're saying, would that be like you're saying you're spiritual but not religious? Is that what you're getting at?
No,
I'm not sure. Really, I don't know what your point is.
Experience doesn't even have a definition, does it? It's like you're making it up right now. That's good.
Truth is your
experiential.
own experience.
You want what?
Truth is your own experience, not what somebody tells you.
Not creed,
That was one of the reasons
That's what I mean by spiritual but not religious.
What I do like about the non-duality stuff. So the guy that I was my teacher right before Paul, I gave you this book, Michael Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of disappeared. He hasn't written anything, and he stopped doing songs and stuff. But what he used to say was he appeals to like it's like almost like the scientific method in that. Like, don't believe it unless you experience it yourself. Don't believe a single freaking thing. Don't accept a single freaking thing unless, like, you actually have the experience yourself. I think it's very similar.
And even when I tell a direct experience to somebody, even once I start telling it, there's an inauthenticity to it because
you're putting
it's
it in
up
words.
to somebody else to have their own experience.
Yeah.
Although I love when somebody tells me their experience.
Yeah, no, that's.
But I can't. But hopefully somebody wouldn't think, oh, I'm pontificating. But there is this, like in Paul or some people you could see, like I'm telling you, this is the way. You know, like there is sometimes a verbal component to it where you want.
For
to
me
share
too, there's a
it.
little voice like you're screwing it up. You're not even
Right.
close. Especially like if you do mushrooms or something, and then you try to explain. You go to explain what the mushroom trip was like, and instantly your brain's just like, dude, you don't stand a chance at explaining it.
Right.
You're messing it up, and then sometimes there can be that experience of you're like a conduit. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
And you don't even have
Like
that. You hardly even second guess it.
exactly.
It's so different.
It's like
right.
poetry. It's
That's
like, whoa,
right.
that was amazing. I couldn't have done that if I tried to.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, but yeah, it's true.
That was a thing that around that age when I went from the hardcore atheist into starting to believe, maybe there was something a little more, was I had a buddy that I'd get high with, and we would talk, and I'd be like, and Sam talks about this too in his case for free will. I'd go, where are the words coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I don't
where,
plan. I just
the beginning.
start talking.
Yeah.
And then somehow I get to the end of the sentence. I don't write it. I think I had assumed that everyone wrote it in their head and then said it.
You
But
feel like you're doing that.
We're all just improv.
Well, you're claiming it as
You're
that.
claiming it right after it happened.
It's happening and we're claiming it.
It's all improv all the time. And then I used to have this thing that would hit me that like, God is just improvising all this. It's kind of like
And it's love.
in the moment.
And it's love. That's why like telling a little bit of what seems like it was my experience, but only if it's my experience now how I'm telling it, because I know it's the same experience meeting here without worrying about am I telling it right, am I pontificating?
Right.
And that's kind of magical to be okay. Like there was a quote by some guru that supposedly said that if I catch myself that I'm telling my story, I sit down. But otherwise, there's no problem with what is normally referred to as my story. But it's not. It's what I'm saying right now. God is improvising, and to be in faith and okay about that is like whatever. It can even do stuff from so-called my experience.
Yeah.
It's not excluded.
So I'm gonna get sappy. So that exact reason is why I'm so thankful for you guys.
Oh.
I'm so thankful for the Sangha because I spent years in a place of like no one's getting it. I'm alone in here.
Yeah.
I'm freaking alone.
Yeah.
I've got to be crazy. I got to be whatever. And that whole world's just been opened up.
Oh wow.
Because of this song. Keith and I had a phone conversation. Was it Monday, Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah.
Hour and a half, and it was like
it was a mutual download. We were just both downloading from the same cloud.
Yeah, and it's like
uploading to that cloud too. Whatever
It's
the metaphor is.
I think of it as like we're like architects discovering it together. You know what I mean? And it's fucking priceless.
Mind jazz.
Mind jazz. Yeah, a litlittle duet. Yeah. I got this, you got that, and I've said it before on the podcast. Like, why I love podcasts is the third thing that's going on. I bring something, now there's a fifth thing going on. You bring something, but then a cooler thing that no lecture could get to arises.
Like in alchemy.
Yeah.
Like
the sum is better than its parts. It's the Miles Davis quartet. Instead of.
It's like the difference between like riding it instead of owning it.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I tried a little bit of doing podcasts where just I talk, and I was like, I can't do it.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't know. So I'm an electrician, so I love electrical metaphors. It was like it was a hot with no neutral, no return.
Yeah.
It wasn't grounded. It was just out there, but it needs a ground to complete the circuit. And that's who knows. That's where.
And that's the simplest way to say what's the problem with being quote unquote in our head. It's not self-centered as in the self-centered calling itself self-centered.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have a ground
The circuit's not
to talk
complete.
about. The problem is self-centeredness, and Paul shares it, and he's had my
it is
experience
still-
saying, it's not my experience as a non-personal,
Yeah.
self-centered experience,
Yeah.
and so,
Yeah.
and that's otherwise. Because some people like you're on drugs or something like that, maybe it does kind of find its ground for a while, but it likes itself so much it just gets stuck,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't like itself
We
anymore.
call that that's circulating current.
Yeah, it's like the
Really?
wires.
Yeah.
Like, what would it be like to just be into it myself?
Yeah. Like too much. That's what I love when Paul talks about, like, when there's too much interest and attention here, he points to his head. He's like, then your head's up your own ass. Like, let it distribute. I love that metaphor. Let it relax and go out a little bit, and then it's not tearing up. The mental state's not eating itself. So.
Wow. That just blew my mind. Now chop wood and carry water. I'm gonna head out. That was beautiful.
That's fun. We never
That
got
was
to
jazz.
movies or
We never what?
We were supposed to talk about movies and TV shows.
Oh, okay. I'll stay for that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So you start.
You start.
What's the latest, greatest?
Oh, I thought Keith. You were looking at Keith. What's the
Well, I
greatest
was
movie?
thinking today, I have not been to the theater for quite a while. I've been to a theater movie, and I haven't been motivated to, because I'm increasingly aware that unless, the last I saw, it's not new, but and which really liked was The Irishman.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm not really crazy about the Godfather motif, the organized crime motif. I've seen some good ones, but I wanted to see it partly because these premier American actors, Pacino and De Niro,
And
working-
Pesci freaking
and Pesci,
stole the show.
who's
So
not the junior
subtle.
player in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
relationship.
So
nice to
subtle,
see
but
him
like
like
you
that.
believe him.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
You that's a character that you know what I mean. You believe.
And so I'll say the others. I'm really thinking of the current scene. I'm out of the current scene.
Yeah.
So The Irishman, Joker, and I'm
Joker's
talking
amazing.
2019. Okay, I'm just basically doing the. And the third was the Tarantino Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
They were just.
What about the
it all-
Parasite?
I didn't see it.
I saw it
I know
last night.
about it.
Badass.
You love it. I think. Well, I don't know.
I think Keith, you'll love it.
I think it's good.
Yeah. And so, what about you? So I'm talking 3 big ones for the year, but I've not been to one for 2 or 3 months.
Wait, The Irishman?
Joker
Oh,
with
It was amazing.
Phoenix,
Oh, it's-
or River Phoenix. Or
That's
was-
just-
no, not River.
Walking Phoenix.
Oh, yeah,
Walking Phoenix.
not River.
Yeah. River
He's up the river.
Phoenix.
Let's see.
What was the third one?
Hollywood. The Once
Oh,
Upon a
yeah,
Time in
no, yeah,
Hollywood. I love
Tarantino.
that.
That was amazing.
Well, this
Have the announcements? Have the-
I think it's Korean. This Korean movie, The
Yeah.
Parasite, it's very Tarantino. I think
It
he's
is,
one
very
of his
Tarantino
favorite
inspired, yeah.
directors.
Yeah.
And
I've heard
he
someone
admits-
compare it to that.
But Paul recommended it. So
Paul likes
so-
very, very dark.
So I got a weird dark one for you. I bet you guys haven't seen The Lighthouse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
But,
In the theater or
Yeah, it's just-
Netflix?
I saw
you
it on TV.
tell me your take on it. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I freaking loved it. It was crazy weird. I like movies. The older I get, the more I get into like non-duality stuff. I don't like movies that are like normal. Like I want someone to like be going crazy, to be on drugs, to be like you don't know when they're dreaming and when they're awake.
Wow.
And that was like one of the best movies I've ever seen of that because
Then-
you're in the
Yeah.
mind of the kid, right?
Wow.
And he's going crazy.
Yeah.
He's like imagining shit, and he's because it's just the two guys on a lighthouse. So you feel, I felt like claustrophobic,
Yeah.
and the way that they shot it,
Oh, it's beautiful.
you know, it like makes you feel claustrophobic, and then like when he's down on the ground, and then the I can't-
Seagull?
Yeah.
Was that no pigeon or seagull?
I think it's a seagull.
It was
Yeah.
like a scrappy.
Yeah.
It was like a pigeon of seagulls.
It's not for everybody.
No.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
It's incredibly weird.
Yeah.
But that's the older I get, I'm more into
And there was an
weirder stuff. ambiguity.
Yeah,
Total
ambiguity.
ambiguity. And the ending when he, I don't want to.
No, don't
but,
give me
Right.
but it
Movies?
was very interesting.
I saw Parasite last night, and that was interesting.
Oh,
not
tell
what I
me your
expected.
take on it.
Not what I expected. It was not one that ends on any kind of wrapped up
Yeah.
note, right?
Yeah.
So, but that was cool.
Kind of didn't it wrap up quite a bit?
Depends on your.
Not
It seemed
well,
like a lot
cer-
of ends were tied. No?
well, not in any like moral of the story kind of way, or
Yeah, it's kind of
any
just like
kind
life's
of
just
resolved kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was it ended, so yeah, resolved.
Now, Nick and I have a love of a particular TV show,
Oh yes.
Oh, wow.
and that is
God.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. Are you like?
Oh yeah.
You follow that show at all?
One season I was
no
disappointed.
familiarity with it?
Oh, it's the best.
Well, it's like there are those who are and those who aren't. For me, I see my life increasingly through the lens of Larry David, because the premise for all of you out there, who everybody knows, is that what he does. That's his real name, of course, the actor Larry David, who plays Larry David himself. But he's created a twist on it. In life is apparently very easygoing and generous and warm, believe it or not. But he plays this politically incorrect, socially faux pas driven, one after another, ruins every situation, picks fights that he shouldn't have. An example, he goes to the gym. There's a woman, I know you, I haven't seen you. What do you do? Good. Look, the baby, when's it due? It's very Jewish. She says, she goes, 8 months. She goes, good. She gets on the treadmill, starts walking, and he's walking. She starts running. He goes, whoa. What's that? What? She takes her earphones out. I'm exercising. No. You're jostling the fetus. You do not jostle. Your doctor would tell you that. My doctor told me it's okay. Why are you mansplaining about what? So that's a classic Larry David.
Yeah.
He is right because he's so inappropriate. He storms out angry. Well, good luck to you and the fetus. Anyway, it doesn't make sense in the abstract, but he goes through life having one of these after another, a faux pas, and politically incorrect. He enacts politically incorrect stuff that I go, yes, I think that way, and I didn't do it. But thank you for doing it so we can all laugh. He's doing a lot of mocking of the Me Too thing right now,
which
is so hilarious.
So what I didn't know, I heard from listening to Joe Rogan, was apparently they don't write a script.
They do not. They have a concept.
They have a concept and maybe the first line, and then they improv. And you can tell when you watch it, you're like, there's no sense of them reading anything. You know what I mean? Like they're just you can see them coming
and in
up
fact,
with it. It feels so natural.
In the current episode, there's a scene where I think Richard Miller is giving Larry a heart. Larry, you are the most self-centered, narcissistic. You always tell. And Larry, the character, is laughing uncontrollably, and it's clear that he's laughing as Larry David at the absurdity. And you don't know how many times they had to shoot it to get that. So it's that feel. Oh yeah, they just have such fun. Improvising, and it's so over the top in some ways. So anyway,
I love the Weinstein gag this season. I wish they would do it more.
Which one?
The guy, the manager who looks like Weinstein.
Oh yeah, Jeff. Yeah, it looks like they've exhausted that one.
I wish they would just keep doing it because he really does.
Do you know? I'll do it. There's one in an earlier episode. I don't know if I sent you this one recently.
You did,
do you remember
with the one where
with his dad? Okay, his dad was played by the actor Shelley Berman. You remember Shelley Berman?
Yeah.
Well, he was a young Jew who was funny in the 60s on Ed Sullivan,
Yeah.
and he became an old Jew. He was a classic old Jew character. Larry David brought him in to be his actor on the show, to be his dad on the show. So Larry flies back from New York to California, comes to his dad's doorway. Dad said, Larry, I didn't expect to see you. I came back early. Oh, come in. And so they're talking a bit, and she goes, how's Mom doing? Oh, your mom. You know how people do. You know how people do in a Jewish way. Oh, you know, like this. Oh, you know how people do. So tell me, how was your trip to New York? And Larry does a quick, it was good. I had a lot of busy work. How are you? Dad, you seem a little jumpy. Well, I didn't expect to see you. Can I make a cup of coffee? No, it's just relax. And where's Mom? Your mom. I'll tell you about your mom. She's not here. I know she's not. Where is she? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you the story about your mom. She went to the hospital. The hospital? Why didn't you tell me? She said, don't bother Larry. He's busy in New York. Don't bother Larry. Where is she? Is she out of the hospital? Yes. She doing better? And then she goes, she doing better? Yeah, in a way. Yes, in a way. I mean, you know where this is going. You don't know where it's going. Okay, I'm glad I didn't tell you. Oh, yes. So she goes, is she in the hospital now? I will tell you. I will tell you about your mom. I will tell you about your mom. She went to the hospital. She got sicker. Larry, you're not going to last forever. I'm not going to last forever. No one's going to last forever. And Larry goes, she died? He goes, she died. Dead. She's dead. She's dead. She's dead. And he's good. why didn't you tell? Don't bother Larry. She said, don't bother Larry. So then he goes, when did this happen? He goes, well, let's see. The funeral was Monday. The funeral was Monday. Why didn't you do it? She said, don't bother Larry. I mean, it was just like who's on first.
Yeah,
that old thing. It's one of, and she's dead. She's dead. Don't bother Larry.
What would be funny is if Shelley Berman completely went off the charts, and that wasn't where he thought he was going. If Larry David was surprised by the fact that the mother died,
And so one more scene. So the next scene, they go to after the commercial. They come back. They're at the cemetery, and Dad's what's over here. There, right over here. So they come to the tombstone. Larry, Dad, and the cousin. And Larry says, Adele Davis, born, blah, 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 passed, P-A-S-T? He says P-A-S-S-E-D. And the dad says, I know how it's spelled. It's $50 a word.
Oh.
You spelled it wrong to save $100. And then he said, by the way, there's no beloved daughter, no beloved mother. She goes, what, you want me to spend $6,000? I mean, it's just such classic Jewish humor.
Oh, that's great.
That is just, I watch it every week or so just to sort of remind myself of the absurdity.
Oh, you must have been so happy when it came back.
Oh yeah.
It's been off for
I know.
a year?
It was
And
off
he doesn't need to do
forever.
the show anymore. He's
Oh yeah,
so
no. He
fabulously
does it just
good.
because it's
my
fun.
gosh,
Yeah.
all
But
of them.
it's such an ensemble.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's pushing a billionaire just from Seinfeld.
Oh my gosh,
What do they
really?
call it? Royalties.
Residuals.
Royalties and series, yeah.
It's totally just because he loves it.
And the cool
It's
thing
so
is, by
great.
all accounts, he's just a really easygoing, charming,
Yeah.
actually fairly shy guy. But he knows how to play this irascible, politically
I
incorrect
heard
Jew.
when he did stand-up, he would just punch people.
What?
Oh, really?
And yeah,
Oh,
when
wow.
he started out with stand-up, but he didn't really like people.
Oh,
So he would always get into fight. I mean, when you read these interviews.
Yeah. Huh.
Right, right.
So not so sweet.
Well, it took some time for him, I think, just to. The Seinfeld thing, I think, was very important because that show was the same kind of thing. It's about it's
Show
about nothing.
Yeah.
And he directed it. I don't know how scripted it was, but what a success.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's.
Did you like Seinfeld as well?
No, I wasn't a Seinfeld.
Huh.
I didn't dislike it, but I was not hugely into it.
Seinfeld's good, but after watching the Larry David Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's like Seinfeld's such a watered down version of that.
I'll tell you
what
what
I mean?
I like.
Feels like it.
Let me interrupt.
Yes, what's-
High Maintenance. Has anybody seen High
I
Maintenance?
saw a couple of episodes. I never
Is it a
watched
current thing?
Is that where
It's
everyone's
a
stoned all
current
the
thing.
time?
Few years.
It's about a guy who delivers weed.
Yeah.
And every episode is like a little movie, and all these really interesting characters. Like one guy's an agoraphobic, like a 300-pound, but they're really humorous. And the guy's on a bicycle around Manhattan, so I kind of identify with the whole Manhattan thing. It's beautifully done.
Yeah.
And it's just such a slice of life. It's got a bit of humor, a bit of, sadness. And
Okay, so it's got
really
some
good.
depth.
It's got a
It's
lot
not
of
just
depth.
slapstick or anything
and
like that.
I'm not sure if it's improvised. That's a really good question. I'll look into that, but it's really good.
I love
really
high
one
humor.
of the best
I love
things.
high humor like more than anything.
Yeah.
High humor? Oh,
Yeah,
high
yeah,
humor.
like people that are high.
That's
like-
high.
Yeah.
No, I thought you were going to say humor that respects your intelligence.
Oh, no.
As opposed to lowbrow.
No.
Yeah.
He doesn't like the lowbrow stuff like we do.
I like lowbrow sometimes when
He
it's
likes
just
the
so
higher stuff. Oh, it's weird, Mr.
When it's so
Stoned humor.
funny.
Stoned
But one
humor.
of the reasons why I loved living in England, since you ask, is their humor just took, or even their advertising humor and their, at the time, it might have changed, they thought you were intelligent. They just took for granted that you had some intelligence. So
Yeah.
the humor was so rich,
Okay.
so brilliant.
Monty Python, was that influential for you?
You
Monty
know,
Python Flying Circus, or is it beyond you,
wasn't-
earlier than you, later than you?
No, my dad was a Python fan. I'm from a British family, and but I was never a Python fan. But I actually fell really in love with the advertising in England. When I went over to England, I'm like, oh, they're not talking to us like we're idiots. They're brilliant ads. They're so funny. Did I just go off topic? I have a tendency to do that.
No, it just shows.
Just humor.
Yeah, you
Just
do-
humor. But
I
I
remember-
saw the guy from Larry David. I saw his stand-up. The black guy.
Jeff Garland. Oh, J.B. Smollett.
Oh, has anybody
Leroy.
seen his
Leon.
stand-up?
Leon. Larry David.
Oh my God, he does a whole hour on how to tweak a nipple. I mean, it's so funny. He's really funny guy.
He's Larry's good
very
friend.
Highbrow.
He's Larry's black friend on the show. There's one episode where Larry had a date, and he came home. Hey, LD, how was the? He goes, it was good, pretty good. You know, it was all right. Did you bring it? Did I what? Did you bring it?
Yeah.
Did you bring it? Oh yeah, I brought it. I mean, this is completely two different vernaculars.
So
Did you bring it?
Yeah,
Come
it's
on. I mean,
real.
and then Larry goes, yeah, I brought it, man. I brought it. Look good. How'd you bring it? Huh? How to bring it? I mean, it's just, how much fun they're having doing this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like The Office. That's another to me. That's
Yeah.
What do you find funny?
I can watch it. I can watch that over and
Portrait
over.
shows.
Yeah. What's your humor?
Let's see. I've been watching mostly horror shows.
Yeah.
more Dark Knight stuff, but what was the last? Gosh, I can't even think of anything recently.
Well, you like horror?
Yeah, I did.
What's
In
What's
an
a good
ironic
horror?
way? It's like.
Or
how
actually,
does
not even
one
just
like
horror anymore.
horror?
It's been changing because Apple TV and CBS All Access are making big differences in the Me Too, the morning show, which is
Oh,
around
right.
the Me Too thing.
Oh, I love
that
that
was
morning
great.
show.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Did you watch it? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Jennifer Aniston was great.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
as for horror, was David Lynch in that for you?
No, I never did see David Lynch.
Man.
No.
Okay. So,
Okay,
so,
I knew.
So that I don't know if I've told you that I got this thing, Masterclass. Have you guys heard of Masterclass?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nick's doing
Yeah,
that
so
one, I think.
my very good friend, it's a crazy little story. I don't know if I told it already. She texts me that this is a lady that I know from work that's just like an instant kinship. I
Yeah.
need to do a podcast with her, Elizabeth. So she texts me that she's really into this electronic dance music guy, Dead Mouse. I don't know if you guys ever heard of
Dead
Dead
Mouse?
Yeah, and it's like dance club music, right? And it's a pretty obscure, like you guys never heard of him, right? So I happen to love Dead Mouse. We had never brought up electronic dance music, nothing. But I play it with my kids. It puts them in a good mood. I have a song that puts them to sleep, right? So I happen to be listening to Dead Mouse when she sent me that text, completely out of,
When what happened?
I was listening to the guy she was talking about when she sent me the text.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, pretty obscure, not on the radio, not, And so I go, yeah, crazy you say that. I happen to be listening to him right now, right? And we have the same birthday. Our birthday's on the same day. And so I knew that our birthday was coming up in a week. So I go, okay. She said something about, he's inspiring me to want to start making electronic music again. And instantly the download came in. Okay, I know what I'm going to get her for her birthday because I know that he has a master class on how to do electronic music. So I pull up master class a minute later, and it's $90 for one, or it's $160 for unlimited access, and there's 50 different master classes, right? I'm like, okay, it looks like I'm about to buy her a year subscription to unlimited master classes. And so I text her, I go, have you ever heard of master class, right? And she texts me back, she goes, don't do it. And I go, why? She goes, because I just bought us both.
No.
Perfect timing.
It was one of the weirdest
Yeah,
Perfect
Depends
friend. That's the
on
kind of
the
friend I
same-
want.
Yeah, one of the most craziest
Oh, I love it.
serendipities. So I've been crazy into master class.
Oh, right.
And David Lynch has a master class.
Oh.
I saw that he did.
And it's freaking crazy.
Is he?
Oh, it's so
In a
good.
good way. He seems
Yeah.
so good. And he's into TM, totally into
He
TM.
talks about TM a lot, and he talks about ideas in such an interesting way. It's very simple but really cool. He's like your idea, your job isn't to make ideas. Your job is to fish for them, right? So he talks about you can set the bait, you can cast the hook, then it's done. Then your only job is to fish it up. You can't. He's it's kind of TM-y, right? You can't make an idea from the ground up. You gotta just make yourself available, basically. It's kind of very Paul-y, right? And then when it comes in, honor it.
Yeah.
Write it down. And he goes, and once
get Dennis Hopper.
Yeah, he goes, He goes, and once you catch about 80 of those, you got to move it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm super
Are you
simplified
inspired every time you watch one?
So inspired. I want to make movies now. Throughout my day, I'm
That's so
imagining.
funny because
yeah.
I just get that. Not that I'm so psychic. No, I totally see you doing that.
Yeah, I constantly I hear someone's story and I'm like, I can see how it could be turned into a TV show.
I have no idea if he would be successful in that, but it just seems like it's like such a natural.
Yeah, no, it's just cool to just open up to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so anyway, so I've gone back and watched all of his movies again, and it's just talking about being into weird stuff. So the Lighthouse to me is like a David Lynch kind of movie. Oh yeah, 100%. Totally weird, like you don't know what the hell's going on and stuff. So I've gone back and rewatched all of his movies.
What's the Dennis Hopper movie called again? I forget. I mean, it's the American. Is it American Dream? No, that's not American Beauty. That's Kevin Spacey.
Blue
With
Velvet.
God.
that's what I remember.
Blue Velvet is like an acid trip.
Oh, it's like an acid trip.
100%.
With Roy Orbison and the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's so intense. It's one of those movies like it's like a roller coaster, literally. I know it's like a cliche, but like my adrenaline's running through the whole thing. You know what I mean? And that's a sign of.
It's like an emergency room visit in the ambulance on the way. The whole movie is like a life support.
Yes.
With Dennis Hopper at his most perverse. He was such a warm, happy, decent guy, but he got into that role so a little bit like Anthony Hopkins with. Will we never not see him as what's his name? In Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah.
He
became that. Yeah.
What's Lynch done lately?
He's doing the Twin Peaks reboot or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Because they took.
Is it brilliant?
It's freaking amazing. Yeah, I think it's the best thing on TV. Yeah.
What's her
You mean it's on now?
It's on right now. Yeah.
Laura Palmer's on? I mean that show?
Yeah.
What network?
Oh man, I just buy the episodes. I don't know.
You remember Wilford Brimley? Is it Wilford Brimley who played in the early show? Who played not the sheriff, but the.
You mentioned horror. You're not.
David Lynch.
Sorry.
Did he said David Lynch and then
Do you know the Twin Peaks?
No,
the original TV
show. Heavy into doing drugs back then. I didn't watch any TV.
Well, you had a lot of fun because
it's a great drug
She's
show.
dead.
I've been intending to get
Laura
back to
Palmer. She's dead, wrapped in plastic. Great scene.
He didn't do Mulholland Drive, did he?
He did.
Okay.
No. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yeah.
Who, Lynch?
So I did.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to make sure I know who.
Now, that was an example of a show that went off the rails at the end. They didn't know how to end it.
Well, no,
Twin Peaks.
I think he wasn't
crazy.
on there for the last season.
Oh.
No,
David
went
Lynch
crazy.
was off, and then the
his
other
protege or something, but the protege did not get it, and it was just. But anyway, the original stuff was so dark and surreal.
This season is. And I've talked to other people who I respect they've gone to school for film and stuff. It's probably the best thing on TV
I'm
ever.
going to go home and watch it tonight.
So
amazing.
this season's Twin Peaks is brilliant. Even if you haven't watched any of the other...
Yeah.
It'll hold its own.
You can... Yeah, it's not really so much about even the...
I'm trying to think of that actress
in which one?
The reboot.
In the reboot.
I think
I'm
it
so
was
bad
Twin
with actor and actress names. I don't know.
In which?
I think it was a couple of years ago.
Laura Dern?
I watched it. Yeah.
You mean in Twin Peaks?
Reboot.
In which? Laura.
Anyway, I don't want to spend half.
How about
so something interesting, because we were talking about, and I thought of David Lynch at his masterclass. He said he doesn't like creating endings that wrap everything up, because then you only get to have one ending. When you have these sort of ambiguous endings, you can have 100 endings, and everyone can kind of pick their own, and they can, So when you have an ending where it doesn't tie everything up, it doesn't give you a moral, you can get your own moral out of it. And he's like, and I really like, I'm not explaining as well as he did, but
I
he's
don't like it too ambiguous. I like a story told.
Lighthouse was too ambiguous for you.
Lighthouse.
The ending.
That was okay.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I didn't love it as much as you did.
Did you ever watch Us?
Oh yeah.
That's what actually I thought Parasite was like. It's just the dualities created by
No, I didn't see Us.
You have to have both sides and they can meet.
I liked his first one more. Get Out. Get Out was more.
Oh yeah.
Us was almost like.
It was weird.
I like weird. Yeah.
But I mean, it was just.
Yeah.
Not what I didn't. It was blown up so much more that I didn't like it as much as expectations.
Get Out was like more psychological.
That was
in your head.
And I wasn't expecting anything at that time.
More of like a bad acid trip.
Okay, now how about Arrested Development?
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure. I mean, did you guys get really into that or not?
The
first 3 seasons.
I've laughed, but I've never become a big fan. Like I've always thought this is really clever.
Well, it's a great show for the continuing characters and their roles. And what's his name? The father, the actor who is such a good character. Anyway, Jeffrey. What's his name?
He's a B2. He's a
What?
Me Too.
Is he a Me Too'er?
Yeah, because he was.
He got Me Too'd?
A victim or a predator?
Yeah, which side of the Me Too?
He's the one on. He plays the woman, the father that becomes a woman.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Jeffrey Tambor.
Yeah, is that who you meant?
No, Jeffrey Tambor's his father.
That's the
Okay,
grandfather.
who's the son of that father? And he's the father.
Oh,
the guy who's
young
basically,
guy.
yeah, he's
Oh, he's
basically
great.
trying
He's
to
great.
pull this insane family together, and the mother with the alcohol.
Yeah,
Jessica
super
Walters.
Jessica Walters is so
Play
good.
Misty.
And what's the guy's name? I've made a big mistake. What is that actor's name? Who plays in? Anyway, that's a great show.
It is a good show. Do you have any other horror movies for us, Mike? I felt like
Yeah, come on.
Oh.
Come on. Spit it out. What are you holding out?
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be. Well, no, it can be horror. In fact, I just happened to put on Piranhas. As far as gore horror, as far as kind of
So you and
comedic
Paul
gore
could
horror.
watch TV together.
I couldn't. I thought I've seen, I've seen my fair share, but they went, way
Did you
beyond
see,
the pale.
Did you see Midsummer?
I think so. That was what was that again?
That was the dude that did Hereditary. That director did a second.
Oh,
one.
yeah, yeah,
And it's a cult thing in Switzerland. It's pretty gory, gruesome, scarring.
Not coming to me right away.
Good movie.
But anyway, no. I mean, it's just like there's actually 2 TV series with Hannibal. You know that? One's actually called Hannibal, and the other one's Prodigal Son.
Yeah.
Those are pretty cool.
Can't get enough
And more
of that.
psychological. That doesn't have to be just.
Right. I like psychological thrillers.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
remember the last one I really loved.
I got a certain distance with Hannibal. Then it got too familiar for me or too predictable.
series?
Yeah, the series. So I liked it at first. I wanted to like it. I really wanted the same energy as the movie. And I got it, but anyway, I just didn't continue.
I really liked. Now I know you guys are going to be in total agreement with me.
A
Little
girly thing?
Women.
Oh, I love
I
that.
didn't see
It was
it.
beautiful.
I was surprised too. Yeah.
I know. Surprised she didn't get the nomination.
No, just surprised I didn't know it was going to be that good.
Think of it. The photography is beautiful. The
Yeah.
direction is beautiful.
Everything's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
kinda
thought some
weird
great
she didn't
dialogue
get
in there,
it.
like
Great dialogue.
kind of one-liners, but
it was a true story from the
Yeah.
woman that Louisa May Alcott. So she did this parallel of her real life and the story itself of Little Women playing out. It's done so well, and the acting's so beautiful. And it's a shame she didn't get the nomination for it. It's kind of and then he's a really good director. The man she's married to. You guys don't know the guy who did the Squirm and the Wiggle, the Whale. He did Married. You guys know, it was nominated for the Academy Award.
Is Mary?
Not Married.
the Marriage
maybe
Story
it's
thing?
Marriage
Divorce.
Story. Have you guys seen Marriage
Story.
Story?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Did you like it? I loved
I
it.
did,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, I didn't like it the first time,
Okay.
Saw it more
and
than
then
once?
Nick really wanted to watch it.
Oh.
That's a hard
And
one to sit through.
Nick
Yeah.
wanted to watch it, and I'm like, it's okay. And I did this jogging thing in front of the TV, so I'm like, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Just something like wallpaper on. The second time I went to another level with it, and now I think it's brilliant. I've gone from
It's
to,
simple,
whoa,
deceivingly
this
simple.
Is real.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons I actually didn't like it is his director. He does a thing with photography. Sometimes it's the opposite of what they did with Little Women. It's not very beautiful photography, and I like to be seduced by the camera work. I
Yeah.
really do.
I think
It means a
the
lot.
idea of my meaning I'm giving it is like it was like real life.
Yeah,
it was like
great.
messy,
It was
real
gritty.
life.
Yeah.
But you like
And ambiguous.
ambiguous. But for me, I was
Nuanced.
like I cared about them, which is rare that you
Yeah.
actually find yourself caring for the characters. You feel
I cared
for them.
about the
you know.
divorce lawyer.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
exactly.
that's a
They're
feat in
believable,
itself.
real, people. I
Ray
thought that was great.
Liotta and Laura Dern. Just like, when are you ever sympathetic to a divorce lawyer?
Yeah.
They played brilliant.
Yeah, no, they
Laura
felt
Dern
like
played the
real
divorce
people.
lawyer?
So she got an award for it.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a small
She's
part.
good.
but-
She's good. Her father was good too, or is good. He's still
Yeah,
alive.
she
Jeff
kisses
Dern.
him before she picks up the award. I didn't realize he was still alive. Yeah, that was he's a really good director. What else did he do? He did Greenberg.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite movies. Talk about in your head,
Yeah,
like
oh,
showing
yeah.
neurosis, and he basically, and I heard his wife actually say this, or his girlfriend, but she's absolutely right. He is a director and a writer, but it could be a book. his films.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah.
could have read
They're so good.
those things.
Yeah.
They're,
How about
they're
House
really
of Cards?
rich.
You guys, any House of Cards fans?
Yeah,
I
but
got it.
What do you
Me
mean about
too.
it's hard now to like it. It's just
Whoa,
in
whoa,
the
whoa,
way.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh,
It's
don't
over.
tell
Here we go.
No, it's
Don't
over.
tell
It's over. The series is over. You can't watch the early because This is serious.
Can't listen to
Kevin
Michael Jackson
Spacey
either.
is that bad.
I
for
didn't
you.
watch the second series, or the latest series.
Well, I mean, it's six seasons or 8 or so. So what are you
Yeah.
saying? Because of Spacey?
Yeah.
I think we're
well,
going-
maybe
So you
it's
look at his.
twofold.
This is not judgmental. You actually look at his earlier work, and it prejudices you against it based on what you know now. Is that a fair thing to say? And I'm not criticizing you.
Yeah, no, it's a question I always ask about Woody Allen and all these brilliant directors. How much is it? How much can I just see the work on its own, and how much am I influenced? And I don't know. It's kind of. Well, maybe I lost interest before the Me Too,
Well, that's
so
a
it
fair
didn't
thing.
help.
It's a similar thing
didn't
to
help.
the crazy wisdom, right? Like
Tell me.
the guru that has the great message, but
Yeah,
is right.
it's lost
Is
in
it the
the-
message or is it the
vessel.
and
You know,
it's
Yeah.
maybe what it
similar.
comes down to. I mean, it's like I'd say with Spacey, several charges, no convictions, and never went to. So I mean, to me, I know when there's smoke, there may be fire.
Yeah.
Multiple accusations. So there's that. So for my view is, I wish Hollywood would get over its stuff. He's one of the best actors of our age. I want him back.
Well, Woody Allen, the same.
Okay, and you know the
He's
Woody
not,
Allen thing? I looked at that. I mean, I find that story so wonderfully rich.
Yeah.
It's like something
Yeah,
that should have been
somebody should
created.
be making that
Mia
movie.
Farrow, you marry
Yeah.
the daughter, the adopted daughter. But I actually have come to believe that he's telling the truth. And so is the daughter who believes he did it. See, I believe both of them. But in any case, I will not watch a Woody Allen movie because of that. It would not keep me.
Would too.
It would not keep me from watching. Now,
I may
maybe
not put it on Facebook, but
I think
I would watch
Harvey
it.
Weinstein has not been convicted,
But he's
I want him
creepy
never
in
to be
movies.
allowed to be in public again. So that's my own
Yeah.
contradiction.
But
He
going
seems to
back
be such
to
a
Woody
monster.
Allen and also that comedian.
I was just gonna say
Jake,
Louis C.K.
Yeah,
Louis C.K.?
Actually, even before the Me Too hit, and also with Woody Allen, there was something that was starting to, and I was a fan to begin with, but there was starting to be stuff that was creeping me out. I was starting to get a hit of, like, I don't know, that joke isn't really good. You know, that's, you know,
The actual
not
content.
The
Yeah.
daughter's vagina just hanging out. Like, just,
No,
you
no,
know,
no.
like,
God.
do me a favor,
Oh my
don't tell
God.
that joke. And it's creepy because it was almost like, I'm going to show you how far I could go. And this is before all the headlines. So I think also with Woody Allen, it's like, why is he casting himself constantly with a 17-year-old?
Because he loves younger.
So I was starting to get creeped out by those filmmakers and, you know,
Okay.
those people
That's
already.
fair.
So then it kind of tipped the scale. But Woody Allen is brilliant and
Well, it's
what's
also-
his name
Louis
is
C-
brilliant.
Louis
but-
C.K. was my favorite comedian.
Yeah.
Who was? Louis
he's
C.K.?
up there.
His TV show was my favorite TV show, and he's beyond just funny. He's artistic.
I know.
In my opinion, I used to quote him all the time. I used to like I quote Paul. I used to be like, yeah, Louis says this. Louis says.
Yeah.
I love listening to interviews with him. I cry when he talks about his daughters being born. And when all the stuff came up, I had 2 sessions with my therapist in a row talking about how insane.
Yeah.
Like it was so heavy
Did you
because
hear-
he's a single dad with 2 daughters, and like it just I so related. I loved how
Yeah.
honest and all this, and
Yeah.
it was freaking
I
rough,
know, what
you
we've
know?
seen him a
But I
bunch of
still go
times.
back and I listen to his stuff and I still laugh at it, and
I
it's
know.
a weird
I
hard
think they
thing
were
to-
both
But it's
part of their
it can be a
undoing,
duality.
though.
It can be
You can
duality.
both think.
You can
Yeah.
separate the
How about
artist
Dave
from the
Chappelle?
artist.
It could
Oh, yeah.
be. Could I just say one thing
He's
about
freaking
that?
amazing.
He's so
It
good right
can-
now
the
too.
duality can exist, but they were actually both of them spoon feeding us that other side of them.
Who?
Okay, so
Woody?
Woody Allen was, I think, force feeding us. Watching him with a 17-year-old girl, you know, having a sexual relationship. Do you remember those
Yeah,
movies?
Hemingway,
and the
Mariel
same
Hemingway.
with, if you watched the last Saturday Night Live with
With
Louis C.K.,
He's talking about-
he was really not
Push.
good. And so it's almost like they were their own undoing, because I do respect their brilliance, but don't force feed me your dark side. You know that. You know.
Make it that up.
Yeah.
Good point.
So that's all I have to say.
It's almost like abusive at a certain point that they're
Yeah.
I know what you mean.
Do you have one? Are you ready to share something?
I was going to say more about the duality, like the different threads. So I mean, you can recognize that you don't like that, but does that can prevent you from watching what other stuff they're offering?
Right.
It's not just the dark side, right?
Right.
Presumably, it's not all about just for the sake of spoon feeding you, right?
Of course,
Right.
yeah.
I have to say, I have a very low tolerance. My philosophy about any actor, I don't care what your politics are, I don't want to know them.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Well, I don't want to hear from Jane Fonda ever again on anything, and because I don't think she's that great, and so that's unfair. I get De Niro. I go, he goes on the late night shows, and it's just utterly profane, vile, angry, anti-Trump. It's not that I'm pro-Trump, but it's like, man, first of all, don't you have the wisdom? Do you have an agent who says half the country, Bob?
Yeah.
You want to lose half the country? Why not you not do that? And I really respect actors. I find myself saying, you know something? I don't know what Brad Pitt's. Well, I think he's fairly, but I don't know what Brad Pitt's politics are. I like that I don't. I like when I see an actor and they don't use the Academy Awards, which I can't watch anymore. I used to watch it they used to say, I love my craft. Now they come out, I hate Trump. The mother.
Well, there's something too about like you're really good at pretending. That's what acting is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes. So they're trying so hard to prove that they're real.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
I have real serious political views.
Oh, I
I have real serious.
I think
Okay,
fame
who are
is a
you?
weird thing,
Yeah,
and you could
you
do
know.
a lot of things with it. But then did you ever watch that guy, The Long Form? You might really like that black and white show. Oh,
A TV show called The Long Form?
No, but it's long form interviews. All he does is talk about craft, and it might even be like a little minutia of somebody's show or play, and it's great. It's different from like the format of the late shows. You guys haven't seen that? I'll text you it. It's really good.
I came across it. I saw Anthony Hopkins being interviewed about his work, and they said, finally, Mr. Hopkins, what do you think about the political scene? Just free associate. He goes, it's not my business.
Yes.
It's not my business.
That's another perfect example of why do we say what we want to say. If by not saying something and you're famous, you are, by default, not contributing to the possibility of that message getting out there. But if by being famous, you know that you don't want to be the one influencing that, you don't want that to be about your life,
Well, there's something
then
humble
you
about
don't say
I'll defer
it.
to the experts.
But they're both valid, and then from
Right.
your perspective, why do I care whether an actor is political, or why would I care not care?
Yeah, but the celebrity status alone, in my view, doesn't confer any. But we want to know what the celebrities feel, right? I mean, to me. But anyway, so he says it's not my business. He says I'm not very bright about any of that. I know a few things. And then he referred, and I'm just getting good as an actor, with maybe a little false modesty there.
Yeah.
But I hope to be good, and I hope to continue doing good. But no, it's not. And I thought, and perhaps he has political views, but I don't know them, and I don't also know my mailmans, or I don't know. Anyway, so
And that's actually, I would say mine is more that because it'd be more of an interference, just because of the drug-like catch of political story, to have that be in the way of just knowing you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just basically not say it, but that is part of somebody being a person.
Yeah.
And in fact, but if we're bumping up against senses of allowing people to exist, like climate change. So am I going to say that occasionally to someone, when otherwise I might not, because I'd rather just know them as a person. But there's no answer, there's no formula to that. Is it going to be
how it comes
up?
and it is something. It does speak to the.
What?
How you're going to improv.
Yeah.
It does kind of speak to the archetypal level.
Yeah.
Celebrities are archetypes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for example, I've found myself a little embarrassed by not only my interest in, but my opinions about Prince Harry and Meghan. I was talking to a friend. I said, those.
That.
I mean, I had, and I thought,
What was it?
well, my views were basically the two millennial princes who don't like their job, which consists of being curtsied to, bowed to, riding horses, and having a lot of money because your last name is Windsor. And then also I felt, I had this whole thing, how rude they were to the grandma, to the queen, to break this publicly and make her solve it. Also, I loved her as a character. She said, to them by all accounts. I want this settled in 1 week, not 6 months. This has been she basically.
Do you really believe that though?
I read it from multiple sources. I read it from so I'm putting together. My view is based on and I like the story.
Yeah.
But
It's a good drama.
and it's partly based on who she was when Diana died. She's trying to hold a tradition. So what are you saying? What's your sense of the story?
No, I'm just saying I don't know what to believe with that story.
Oh well, so you didn't land on anything. I did, and I'm not saying it's right. It's a story I like.
Yeah.
I like that she said. Oh, by the way, she said you can go. You'll have no more. You drop the highness stuff. You don't want to be. You won't. She said this way, and they were actually shocked. Because what they wanted, here's what blew me away. They said, we don't want to do this anymore, but we want a long support period while we go to America to become celebrities in our own right. And they've already trademarked products. They want to sell products based on, it's so creepy, so chintzy, so cheap.
I do
she
know
cut
a
them
little.
loose. She cut them loose.
Here.
Okay.
Supposedly, that's just what you do. I mean, that's the same thing with William and what's his
Not
wife's
personal
name?
for-profit trademarks. Not personal for-profit trademarks. For your own business. And I don't. So, do you know the other piece I had on it? So I'll share the last piece.
I'm not gonna win this one.
The last piece I had.
He knows this. I know. He's a
Go with
royalist.
me. No, here's the last.
Who would have thought?
Here's the. You know what? I even put this on Facebook. Okay, and I don't do celebrities on Facebook. So here's my basic take. So I said, here's my basic take on I made a slide upon. I don't normally do this. Celebrity comment. It's royalty. But this is for every young man, but also for every young woman in the same situation. Be careful when you marry someone, when your partner separates you from your family.
Yeah, that's a good point.
See, that's what I believe she's doing. Meghan is.
I wouldn't put it on.
She's
Meghan.
the bad.
Leave her
She's troubled in the same way Diana was. But no,
poor
and she is.
I'm going for Meghan.
And I'm going to add, Harry has unresolved issues with his mom around the royalty. So Meghan is pulling him. You don't know any of it?
Well, there's the extra dimension of the racial treatment, though.
Which has not been ostensibly. It's like the reporters in England said she hasn't gotten that. She's finely tuned to experiencing racism that is not actually happening. Is that true? I don't know. You see what I'm saying? There has not been actual racism toward her.
But I've heard that. I haven't followed it a lot, but what little I've heard is that there has been that.
She's finely tuned to. I'm half black, and so I'm getting racism.
No, I don't think she's calling
You're just in
that
celebrity.
out. I think other journalists are calling that
yes,
out.
there was
I've
actually.
never heard her say that.
Right, yeah.
Or I haven't heard her say anything for that matter. But I've seen legitimate reporters say, take certain cases and
probably
say
she has gotten some racist background. But it strikes me that here's one more piece I'll add. There's a video of them going through a receiving line, and Michael Eisner is being like Disney, and he's the receiving line, right? So they're going through. He's the select. So Harry comes up, and there's a mic. He doesn't know he's being mic'd. He goes, "Hello." And Michael goes, "How are you, Prince Harry?" Very good. My wife does voiceovers, and she loves the Disney stuff. And Eisner goes, "Oh, okay." And she's going, like a couple of interlopers.
I wouldn't believe it.
Well, it happened. You could hear the tape. My wife does voiceover.
My husband would probably say that too, and I'd be like, "Nikki, stop. He once got me Archie's Kisses commercial.
Why don't you
nepotism
get an agent and submit it?"
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it was my friend directed and wrote it. Okay. Because he said, "This is so Sharon," and basically, I'm eating chocolate and the doorbell's going and I forget to get the door and the kids are crying and I'm just so into the chocolate. I'm like, you think that's me? But what I mean, I don't think so. It's years ago.
Yeah. Well, going back to what I started with.
But I'm saying maybe it was done just in a very friendly way, and I just think they're really damning that poor woman. I don't like it. I think
Well, anyway,
she's
so-
seen as the sort of evil, and we don't really know the story.
Admittedly, we don't.
Yeah.
So, and I started with, I'll return to, I'm slightly embarrassed to be this interested.
I know.
That's really what
Please,
I'm owning.
I am amazed. I love it.
It's
actually.
my
I really
gossipy.
don't want
It's
to
my
stop
gossipy
you.
yenta. I'm a yenta. This is a yenta.
That's the point.
That's up.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
want
with
to
the
shut
queen.
you down.
You
I
don't
love
disrespect
it.
the queen like
I
this.
love it.
This is the point of the podcast, to make it weird.
Yeah, this is real.
And there's been no alcohol, so we're just getting out there with this without any alcohol or drug. I feel like I've had a hit of psilocybin at this point. I mean, it's kind of really big.
Are you guys going to be coming next week, by the way? That's not really relevant, sorry.
Is Paul going to be here next week?
I'm
No.
not here, but I was wondering if
Where are you
the
then? If you're
round
not here, where
I'm
are you?
going with
You're not
Yuri
here?
for his birthday to Palm Springs to see another friend, and let's go hiking.
You see-
and do all these things.
Oh.
So you and your husband, is that what you're saying? No.
No, Yuri, Yuri, my
Oh, Yuri.
friend. Yeah. So I have to go.
Has she been to the meetings? He.
Yeah,
Or he?
he's like a little gnome.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Oh, I see what you mean.
He
I
doesn't
didn't know he was your friend.
Somebody I know calls him
Hobbit?
Yodi or yeah.
He's sweet. His
He
heart
is
is
so.
like,
Oh, I'm so
his
glad
heart
to hear you
fills the
say
room.
that.
Uh-huh.
Because some people get a misread on him because he can be very buttoned up, and his
he
heart
seems sweet,
really,
yeah.
he's all heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beautiful being. He's an amazing massage. We went to massage therapy. People travel all over to go have massage with him. He's a real, if you get fucked up,
Yeah.
go see him. And he spends a lot of time with people.
Oh, nice.
Well,
So,
speaking of massage, that reminded me to say,
Yeah.
we must have an honorary toast to Charlie, who couldn't be with us
I
today.
love
Our
Charlie.
Charlie friend.
Charlie.
Our friend Charlie.
Next
He
time.
said he said he
Lovely.
would be having an honorary toast for us. He wishes us well.
Right on. He's been here in spirit,
He's a really
guiding
nice
the
person.
emperor.
He's
Charlie's
wonderful.
freaking amazing.
He really is.
Yeah, he's a special dude.
He's quite the musician.
Is he? Have you
He's a drummer.
heard him?
Yeah, I finally got him out of his shell. I said, "Could you send me something?" And it's like up there with. I kept telling Nick it compares to Philip Glass.
Yeah.
That level
Wow.
of orchestrated, condensed, dense, abstract. Very much. I told him that. I said, "Do you know who Philip Glass is?" I vaguely do as well. So I gave him some.
He's so humble.
He's super.
He is
super
the
quiet.
definition
Yeah.
of humility.
Yeah, no, he's interesting.
And then you
dude.
tap into him, like you said, and you find out these amazing things. You know, he's a really good person. Is my take on it.
Yeah.
This
Big-
was fun, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
That
thank
was
you.
awesome.
You better. We'll
We'll
go on forever.
Oh,
How-
okay.
Is this the longest podcast you've done?
The one Keith and I did was over 2 hours.
How long
Are we
is
that far?
this?
We're almost 100 minutes. So, hour 40. Pretty good.
Wow.
I'll finish with this. So, I was thinking about on the way over here, how.
Setting up a cult?
Yeah. So this is my pitch, guys.
Okay.
What do you think? Keith's already got the bald head.
Leave
so.
your family.
So, the one thing that did help me through my atheist phase was I still did listen to Alan Watts. Because somehow Alan Watts was still, I
Good.
could fit him into.
He's like the Krishnamurti.
Yeah, you know,
Like,
yeah, exactly. And then I also, when I was feeling particularly spiritual, I listened to some Ram Dass too. And he's
To who?
Ram Dass.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he passed away recently. And so I've been listening to him a bunch again. So during those times, I used to fantasize, like, wishing I could have been in those scenes.
Huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, man, because apparently they knew each other and they would hang out and stuff.
Ram Dass and Alan Watts?
And what's his name?
Ginsberg?
Who's the Joseph Campbell? Joseph Campbell used to hang out with Alan Watts. Used to hang out, and those are like three
Leary,
yeah,
all
yeah,
those,
of
like that.
course,
There
yeah.
was a.
Yeah, and there's all right around here too.
Yeah, that's true.
Alan Watts lived in San Rafael, I think, or he lived in Sausalito.
Sausalito.
And so I used that was like my dream. Like people, you know, maybe it would be like being in a rock group, being in
Yeah.
a jazz group,
At
being
the
in
right
the movie
time.
scene, being in Hollywood. And I was like, the thing that speaks to me is this stuff, stand-up philosophy, whatever you call it. And I would just kind of sit there like, man, that would be like it if I could be in one of those scenes.
Wow.
Stand-up philosophy, I love that.
Yeah, right. It was just, I think that's kind of like what Paul.
And I think he's struggling to say that he feels that with the three of us.
That's
here
it.
today.
No, he's saying this
no, I'm not
makes him
struggling to
sick.
say it.
No,
I'm saying
So sad that he's with us
I
motley crew. And
I was hoping for something better than this, but I'll accept it. I'll take it.
The poor man's. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is way better than that could have been. For real, it really is. I love you guys. I love you guys. Yeah. And it's just, I'm speaking to myself back then that felt alone, that felt it was impossible. I wasn't ever gonna find that, and life just brought it to me, and I'm so freaking thankful.
And I know this is culty, but I really have to give like so much appreciation to Paul, because he makes that.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody
he created
brings
the space,
it,
yeah.
but I think he makes community.
Yeah.
I mean,
and fellowship,
and
he makes a point to do it, and it's so freaking cool.
All I can say is I've never been a part of a group that was culty. I have a vaccination against it, an inoculation.
Yeah, me too.
So I feel I've got a sixth sense for anything that feels like that.
Yeah.
And Paul is just so clean.
Yep, I know.
He won't accept it.
Yeah.
He won't don't even call me a teacher. This isn't
me.
coming through me, and that's not false modesty.
Yeah.
He doesn't want it. And when the talks are over, he said, "Let's talk about lattes. Let's get it. Let's talk about Bernie Sanders."
Yeah.
No, he doesn't see himself as up here. It's so rare. He's a friend, a true spiritual friend.
He's a
People
cool
talk
dude.
about Jean Klein that way, that he was a spiritual friend.
What about Klein?
That he was a spirit, not about Paul, but that people who had that relationship with Jean Klein would say he would not call himself a teacher. He was a friend.
Yeah.
He was a spiritual friend.
I think,
as opposed to
for some exceptions, non-duality draws that sort of teacher.
Probably more so than anything
More
else.
so.
Yeah.
there's
Although
less
I
of a
know
cultic thing going on.
Yeah,
there
I
seems
think
to.
there's a leveling, a more mature student too, maybe.
Yeah. And it's also kind of like it's
although there's exceptions.
There's so little of the archetypal, mystical, extra stuff added on that it's so hard to pin it on a person.
Yeah.
There's almost nothing there.
Yeah.
You know
Also,
what I mean?
you know what? Also, because the message generally with non-duality, I mean, compared to the most of the mystical paths, it's if you work hard enough, you will get to this. You'll get to the realization.
Yeah.
And I am there already. Like, Da Friedjan, who had 3 different names by the time he became Da Friedjan, Bubba Friedjan. Anyway, he was a classic guru. Whereas the non-dual is you start. The goal is the destination is where you start. You are awareness.
Yeah.
We are already here. We just rest in this truth of non-duality.
Yeah.
It's hard to build a following around that.
Yeah.
Hard to say that I've got something, because the message is you've got it. How do you not see? Well, even Paul often see it. Paul, I love Paul. Good. See it. You just see it. See, what's before? From after.
He talks
see
about,
it.
He goes. This isn't the best business plan because you
Yeah.
can't sell anything after that.
Yeah.
You already have it.
Yeah.
Well, and the democratization of it is pretty fascinating too, with the number of teachers that are a little node for a bunch of these things that aren't, involved with
no hierarchy.
Or working past. And ironically, they can't attract those that want to feel special by working because there's nothing to show. Hey, I'm working.
There's no special relationship with the guru kind of thing.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff that is so insidious. You want to hear one interesting? I heard a quote the other day about just add this to your picture of Alan Watts.
Mm-hmm.
He is said to have said, "I don't like myself when I'm sober."
Yeah. Now he was a
because he basically died of alcoholism.
Yeah. What really
I don't like myself when I'm sober.
What really changed my image on him as a person was listening to his daughters. His daughters wrote a book, or they put together a book of all of his writing, and they were like, he was a shitty dad, basically.
Wow.
And he was very distant, and he was which is so crazy because you think, man, I listened to him and I felt like he was a father to me, but he couldn't be a father to his own kids, and it's just like a little reminder of and that's too this little podcast is just like a fun thing to do, but my job is day to day be a good dad to my kids.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like my freaking work, whatever, the project, when I leave work, it's done. I don't care about deadlines. I don't care about how much money. It's
you're your kid's dad. That's your main job, is to be your kid's dad.
Yeah, and it's such a freaking privilege, and it's such a...
Yeah, not a job. If in order for you to do it good, it can't be a job.
Yeah, no, it's like it's a blessing. It's a gift,
And a job gets in the way of it if you think it's a job.
So getting back to that, just Paul, the action figure, it's just such a cool, chill, welcoming, just and when you talk to him, like, you feel like he's really listening to you. I think I'll never get him on the podcast now, but when I went and saw Rupert Spira, I went to talk to him afterwards. He's like looking for the next thing, and like, I went to hug him, and he kind of was like,
well, he's British.
I was like, can I hug you? And he was kind of like, okay.
I'm no armor.
Who knows, man? Like, maybe he had a rough day or whatever, but it's just like, I never got a hint of that with Paul. He's just there. He's interested. I'm talking about stupid stuff at work or family or whatever.
That's the
and he's
thing.
just,
It's like the personality's still going to be the personality,
yes,
right?
Yeah, totally.
So it's hard. It's almost like what we were talking about celebrity. Like the genius, it doesn't take away from the pure genius of their talent, but the personality does kind of sometimes get in the way. Yeah. But really,
or they can be two different planes. An incredible kind of seemingly transpersonal talent can come through somebody, but they're just not a nice Picasso. Look at Picasso. He was by all accounts a really horrible human being, misogynist, mean, bitter, but what he did with blue and red and squares and triangles and the blue period and all that. So they're both true. They both
expanded consciousness in a way, and
that's right.
And
but their own consciousness.
Even the Daw Free Johns and the really corrupt, ugly. I don't know about your group, but and there's degrees of it. But you can't deny, like, people woke up with Osho or woke up with these teachers that are really shitty, corrupt,
and a lot of them today
maniacal.
Still say it was the best time of their life.
Right.
Well, in Osho's case, he didn't create the pathology. The pathologies were his.
I actually don't know much.
Well, the thing is, though, the followers were horrible. Ma Sheila, she's the one who put poison in the salad bar. Okay. But he became totally off on getting serviced by young girls and doing nitrous oxide all day. He became a nitrous oxide, and he had 97 Rolls Royces. I mean, a complete crazy narcissistic grandiosity, but didn't negate his books are non-dual.
Yeah.
Pick up his by Rajneesh, whatever, now probably called Osho, but they probably still sell a lot. Osho has still a huge following.
Yeah. No, he's a clear communicator. So it's anyway.
Thank you guys. No, it's great.
Thank you. Okay.
I'm so glad we did. Thank you for setting this up. Thank you for pursuing
it.
it.
For coming. This is fun. I'm gonna call the episode The Excuse, because it's just an excuse. I gotta talk, guys. I haven't been making it to enough meetings, so.
I love it.
Yeah. So hopefully when he comes back, I'll see you guys again. This is fun. Thank you.
All right.
Right on, guys. That was awesome.